What is up, GBA fans? This is John, aka Pokemon, and today, me and Miguel, Mr. Miguel,
Hello.
There he is. We're going to be doing power rankings. This is for the week number 2. It's weird because we always record these in week 3, but it's for week 2, and this is for the week 2 games, all the things that happened, and we're going to rank the people. I think I have a few changes. I don't remember if you have. I think you have 1 or 2 changes. It's changed enough that you should be entertained. But we have things to talk about, so
it was an interesting week for sure.
It was. There were some big games. There was one really close game, and then it got progressively farther away as we went through the other matches. Some pretty good matches. We learned a lot about the opponents. It's really nice to get 2 games under everyone's belt so we can see who really is a contender, who's kind of, fallen off. We have 3 2-0 teams, 3 0-2 teams, and then that leaves 2 1-1 teams. Am I correct with that, Mr. Miguel?
Yes.
Yes, I am. Awesome. So, Miguel, do you want to start off at number 8?
Yeah,
or do you
I'll start it.
Go for it. Go for it, man.
No. Well, we're going to start off with the bottom as usual. We're going to go our way up. I am going to go for number 8 on our list, which both me and John agree on this one yet again. And it is none other than Mr. Hardytack, the coach of the Miami Dolphins. He is at number 8. Why? Well, first of all, I like to say that Hardy's actually improved a lot. I think. Well, not a lot, a little bit when it comes to preparation. At first I saw the score and I was like, well, here we go again. He hasn't really progressed much. He hasn't really improved much when it comes to preparation and playing the game. But when I actually got to watch the matches, especially his side, I was very impressed with a lot of the things he brought. He actually brought a Source Dance Weavile instead of a Fake Out Weavile. Ladies and gentlemen, don't use Fake Out on Weavile, please. It's a stupid move. It just doesn't work out. Why would you put Fake Out on Weavile when you have Priority Ice Shard? I just don't understand why that is even a thing. Unless you're talking about doubles, of course. But then the singles, don't use Fake Out on Weavile. He actually brought a Source Dance set, and he brought a Mega Medicham, which was very powerful against his opponent. And I felt like he actually did not perform poorly. I think he did all right. There's obviously still a lot of room for improvement. I still think there's a lot of things that he did, a lot of plays that he made that I'm still against. I still do not like the way he goes for Fake Out every single time, especially when he brought in his Mega Medicham against the Reuniclus. Like, there's no reason for him to go for Fake Out, just go for the goddamn attack, Hardy. You have to learn this. You have to know when to Fake Out or when to attack, because if you can deal as much damage to whatever wants to come in as possible, it's going to be best for you. Mega Medicham is one of the best wall breakers in the game, one of the most powerful wall breakers in the game. So you got to know how to use him better. I did like, if he actually had set up a Source Dance with Weavile, he would have been able to potentially sweep Gassy. So I don't think his performance was a lot better than week 1. I think he's making progress, but he still has a lot of weird sets that he brings, and he still has a lot of things with some preparation that I'm just not a fan of, and that is why I cannot move him up. He did lose. At the end of the day, he did lose 5-0 again, so he's still at the bottom of the list, but I see some improvement. I see some light. I see some hope for our buddy Hardy here. So what do you think about it, John?
Well, the first thing I want to say is, obviously, for those people watching, this is the D-League, the developmental league. So if someone like Hardy, who had a terrible week 1, and we can say that now that he's definitely improved preparation and playing wise, and I think he's only going to get better and better each game, and that's what this is about. It's about improving, being a part of this format, and just having fun. So he's definitely having a good time, which is awesome. He's getting better. There's not too much to say about the game. He still got 5-0'd, but it looks like, as Miguel said, there's light at the end of the tunnel. He will get better. He will bring a better team next time. He will play a little bit better, and eventually, I hope that turns into a win. But right now, against Gassy and other top contenders like that, I don't know how it's going to go. We've seen 2 5-0s. It's not looking too good for Hardy, but, I mean, there's next week. He can turn it around. No way we can move up the guy who's minus 10, though. And we have 3 0-2 players. So he's not, he's the worst when it comes to, record-wise and differential-wise, but there's a few people who are pretty close to him who don't have a win, and even though they've been playing a little bit better, people like Nick, our number 7 guy, is kind of close to him. Now, Nick and Hardy are definitely a little bit different in the fact where Nick has a ton of experience in the draft format and is, we could probably say he's a little bit better of a planner and a player, but something is still not clicking, and he's 0-2. And I had to drop him this week because if he didn't have Gastrodon, he just wasn't even in this game. And obviously he's played Ellie, and who else did he play? Was it Gassy?
Yes, it was Gassy. We won.
Right, yes, okay. So he's played 2 really good players. And it's not like, he hasn't had an easy game. He hasn't played anyone else who's, 0-2 or really close to his record or close to the bottom of the list, at least we could say. And it's just, I don't know. It's the first time we've seen the Mega Venusaur, Skarmory, Gastrodon core. And we can say Gastrodon worked. Gastrodon worked fantastically. He actually almost won the game. Ellie got a little angry, made an aggressive switch out. If he had clicked recover, he wins. It's not really because, Nick played well. He just had a Gastrodon. And Gastrodon is fat and awesome and definitely undervalued in the GBA. But I just, I have to put him here. He was going to get, I think, actually, 5-0'd potentially if, Gastrodon wasn't Gastrodon. And I don't know. I think he's going to turn around. I think he's going to get a lot more wins after this. I don't think this is really setting the pace for the rest of the season for him, but it seems like he really needs to find out what he likes on this team and start bringing things that better suit his playstyle. I don't know what's not clicking. He has a good team. He's a good player. He has to mesh it or just bring 6 Gastrodons. Yeah, we'll figure out which one he's going to do. But Miguel, do you have the same number 7 or a different one?
I do have the same number 7. I have Nick as number 7 again, Mr. MightyMamoswine. Now, I agree with pretty much everything you said, to be honest. I think my boy Nick here he's been playing against good players. He's played Gassy, he's played Ellie, 2 very high-ranked players. And he's, again, against Gassy, he underperformed. He could have actually won that game, and he made several crucial misplays, like I said about, I talked about last week. And now against Ellie, it's what you said. If it wasn't for Gastrodon, he would have got blown back. And that is not really acceptable when you have such a solid defensive core. And I just think his preparation was a little bit lackluster. And I think that I'm a fan of the fact that he, fought to the end.
Yes.
He did not give up. And he kept his Gastrodon and he kept fighting, even though it was kind of there's no way, unless Ellie choked massively, he wasn't going to pull that back because Ellie had a lot of resources to take it down. But he did manage to shut her down for a little bit with Gastrodon, even though the rest of his team was already destroyed. I think that Nick needs to step it up preparation-wise, needs to step it up plays-wise, needs to play more for the end game, and basically needs to improve overall for him, for me to lift him up in the rankings, basically. I don't think he hasn't shown me anything yet in that regard, so I'm kind of iffy on him. And that is why I had to drop him even further, even though I still think he definitely has the potential to bring it back, and he definitely has the potential to become a contender again. But as of right now, Nick has been underperforming. And we will see. It's a very interesting matchup he has next week against the Houston Gastros, because we will see Nick fighting a lower-ranked player who, is also 0-2, and we'll see if he has what it takes to go up, or if he has yet another loss. We have to keep him here. Sorry, baby Nick. I love you, but if you want to go up, you got to step up your game a little bit. So yeah, that's all I got to say regarding Nick. Number 6 on my rankings, and I believe on John's as well, is Michael, MandJTV, the coach of the Houston Gastros. Now, Michael, well, he was a little bit devastated with his loss this week. I, had a pep talk with him afterwards, and I told him that he's actually exceeded. Personally, he's exceeded my expectations. This is his 2nd game in a league format, and he went up against a player who is very, very, very experienced in this format. And again, poor Michael is a part of an amazing close-ass battle, and he's the one that comes up short. He literally lost the game because he ran out of stone edges, and when he went for struggle, the Victini lived at 3% health. Man, that is devastating. But I told him, you're doing great. You're giving your opponents a hell of a fight. You're almost winning. You're improving. You're learning from your mistakes. So now it's at a point where he can become a very big threat, John. If he keeps on improving at this rate, he can become a very, very powerful contender. He could potentially end up making the playoffs. I could see him doing that. So I'm excited for Michael, for his progression. And like I said, his match against Nick this week is going to be very interesting. I had to move him up above Nick because even though he's played lower ranked opponents, he's only GHart, because when it comes to George, he played the best. He played
two 2-0 teams at this point.
Exactly. He played 2-2-0 team, so I don't know what I'm talking about right now. He's actually played against two very strong players, and he's performed really well. So right now, he has to be above Nick, and I'm very excited for this matchup with them two because Nick, like I said, has been underperforming a little bit, but I think he can turn it around, and Michael has been improving a lot. So I'm expecting big things from Michael. At the very least, I'm expecting him to learn a lot and improve this season. And I think that number 6 could only be the beginning. He could keep going up, or maybe he still needs to improve more. We'll see. This week is going to be very important in that regard. What do you think about our boy? What do you think about Michael, John?
I have a lot of thoughts, and they're all positive. And this week, Power Rankings, it's really positive. It's improved, he can do better, improved, and it's just going to get better and better. And I really like that. I like this new feel with the Power Rankings, and it's all positive because Mike came in, everyone's like, this guy sucks. This guy lost to George barely. George sucks and Mike sucks way more. Whoa, 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 everybody. I think George lost to a very good player who actually, played really good against George. I don't think George is bad. I think Mike's better than everybody expected. And once again, Mike is, 3 HP or 3, whatever, that close.
Yeah, 3%.
Yeah, 3% from winning a game, his second league game ever. That's pretty damn impressive if you ask me. He has 2 1-0s against 2 2-0 teams, and George almost lost to him. George thought he might have lost if there was priority. If that sock, depending on min-max, does a little bit more, GHart thinks he loses to him as well. It's just really close, and it's not the people he are playing are bad. No, it's Mike is doing a lot better. And this rapid improvement that we've seen from him is just incredible. I mean, he really, as Miguel says, has the potential to start winning a great amount. I don't really know what to say. He could start winning a lot of games in a row is what I'm trying to say. Because he's playing really well. I mean, Sock went 4-1. This is Sock, a Pokemon no one else has ever drafted in the GBA, but it's a great mon, and he's using it effectively. He's using all these mons effectively. We all questioned whether or not he was going to be able to do that. He's shown that he's a great player. His preparation is getting better and better, and he just has to play a tiny bit more for the late game. I said that last time. This time he did it. Sadly, he ran out of Stone Edges, so maybe if he can, hack the game, get one more Stone Edge on for the next game, he can fix it. But a big thing that I want to say about, Nick and Mike being ranked, or Mike going up above Nick, they're playing each other this week. That's the beautiful thing about the Power Rankings. In the first few weeks, all these people are going to start playing each other. Number 6, number 7 are going to play each other. Whoever wins is probably going to be the one up, and whoever loses is probably going to be below. So I wouldn't put too much weight into this. I think it's really going to see, is Nick going to awaken and be the player we thought he was going to be, or is Mike going to continue improving and move up? So I'm excited for that. But we're going to move on to number 5, which is Ellie. Now, Ellie, I'm pretty sure I had her in the top 4 last week, and I have to move her down to number 5. We have 3 undefeated teams. Ellie's 1-1, and I can't move her above the other teams, even though I think she's been planning really, really well and playing great. It's hard, and that's the problem with only having 8 teams and only being 2 weeks. I think Ellie will move up in the future. I just think at this point I can't move her above anyone else, but she had a really good game. And I'm not really going to talk about how well she played, but more of the reason she's out of the top 4, even though I think she's a contender. She really lost her composure in that game, and the main reason she got stuck against that Gastrodon was just preparation. She didn't have the necessary things to deal with the Gastrodon. Her plan became, maybe I can get a special defense drop and kill it off with a Grass Knot. Now, that's great, but having really only one solid mon to take out such a big threat like Gastrodon can put you in a situation where your team gets stalled out by one mon for a ridiculous amount of times. And Gastrodon got 2 kills against that team, and it's kind of insane to look at our team and be like, Gastrodon got 2 kills? Really? It's just weird, and she played great. And so what I'm trying to say is, just to put all those thoughts together, is her preparation needs to go to the next level, and I think she's just going to be a force to be reckoned with. It's going to be really hard to take her down if she can just plan a little bit more thoroughly and make sure she has more than just one way to kill things. Because just, Grass Knot that can almost kill a mon being the only solid way to take something out, that obviously we showed wasn't a great strategy. But overall, she took down the rest of his team, and she played really, really great, so it's not that big of a deal. Main thing is for her to make the next leap into contender playoff status, all that great stuff. She just needs to put a little bit more in, make sure she doesn't overlook anything, and keep her composure throughout the battle. Because one thing I did see is she did make a switch, and if Nick had just clicked recover, he could have won. That should not happen, especially with one Mon when you have him in the place you want. Even if it goes down to the end, even if it's a timer stall, you gotta just stay there 60 minutes, get the game done, get the big differential, just get the game won, whatever you want. A lot of thoughts. I'm spewing a lot of things. Miguel, throw in your thoughts. I don't know what you.
Well, I actually don't have Ellie at number 5. I have Mr. GHart. The reason I have GHart at number 5 instead of Ellie is because I just can't ignore the fact that GHart has faced 2 lower ranked opponents compared to Ellie. He's faced Michael, who has got up this week, but he's faced Hardy. While Ellie has faced Will and Nick. Will being one of a very high-ranked opponent. So I just can't manage. It was very hard for me to select between these 2, but I decided to put GHart below because I believe that his win against Hardy was kind of free. It was. Hardy is improving, but week 1 Hardy was very bad. He was very underwhelming. Let's just say underwhelming. That's a more politically correct.
Everyone remember, Miguel's first language is Spanish, so if he says something like bad and searches for a better word, that's him trying to make translations in his head. So he's not an asshole. He's just using the language.
I'm a little bit of an asshole, but not that much of an asshole. So basically, Hardy was underwhelming. So that win for GHart is not really as impressive for me. His win against Michael, yeah, I'm somewhat impressed. I think he had a lot of very good preparation. This time he prepared a lot better for the Nido. He prepared very badly for the Nido King, but he prepared really well for the Nido Queen within a Sophist Crocodile, which was actually designed to not be too quick KO'd by Ice, which is very, very impressive because modest life form Nido Queen destroyed his team, and all of a sudden he has a Pokemon that can switch into it and not be too KO'd and outspeed it and one-shot it with a Stab Earthquake. So he had a very good response out of the blue for a Pokemon that otherwise destroyed him completely. And he also brought a defensive Salamence with the Fog and Wish, which was also very, very detrimental to Michael because it enabled him to recover a lot of his mons that had already been worn down a lot. And it is actually what later on managed to win the meet. He still made a lot of misplays. Michael misplayed as well. Both of them misplayed quite heavily at certain situations, but I think that GHart is, he's there at a point where he's ready to go up in the rankings, but for me, not quite. He still needs another victory, and then I can say, okay, he's the real deal, and he's really a top contender. As of right now, he's not quite there yet, but he's getting pretty close. That is why he's number 5. Now, Ellie is number 4 for me. Now, like I said, this was a very tight, very difficult decision for me, placing GHart and Ellie, but I can't forget the fact that Ellie faced Will, and that's her loss, even though she did get quite, not dominated, but, she was defeated quite convincingly by Will. Her showing against Nick, as we mentioned, she completely ran through him, except for the fact that she couldn't deal with the Gastros. And we saw Ellie get a little bit mad, get a little bit whatever. We know how it is in Pokemon. Every single one of us gets mad at a certain point. May it be, whatever format you're playing. Pokemans can bring the anger when hacks is an issue, when certain things are an issue. But I don't agree with her attitude towards Nick, because what Nick was doing was basically fighting to win. He had a Pokemon that walled the vast majority of her team, and she couldn't kill it. She was complaining when she was actually drain punching it with a Regirock. You know what I mean? So that kind of makes me think you just have to admit that you underprepared for the Gastrodon. It was your fault. You have to admit that you underprepared. You did not have enough resources to deal with Gastrodon, and that really set you back. And that is why I'm not as impressed as I could have been with her performance this week, because Gastrodon really shut her down, and she didn't really play the best around it, honestly. I don't think she really played well around it, especially, like you said, that one turn in which she would have won if it went for recover there, when she made that misplay. So When it comes to Ellie, I think she's got a lot to prove. I still think she's going to be a top contender. She's still number 4 on my list. I think she's definitely going to keep on. She's playing well. She's doing well. You know, there's definitely room for improvement, but that's why it's only week 2. So I'm excited for what she has to offer, and the rest of the league, and her upcoming match is going to be very exciting. She's facing GHart, and like I said, like we said with Mike and Nick, Ellie and GHart are facing each other as well. So hey, 4 or 5, we'll see who's the top dog next week. So it'll be exciting. And yeah, but that's my opinion of Ellie, and that's why I have her place there. You get to talk about GHart now because you actually have me.
Yes, I do have GHart number 4. Now, this one's really hard, and the reason I kept stumbling over all my words and my thoughts with Ellie being at number 5 is I don't feel like she deserves to be at number 5. I just feel like she deserves to be in the top 4, but that's based on plays that I've seen her make, teams that I've seen her bring, not immediate results. When we see GHart, we've ranked him lower in the past, but we're seeing results. He beat someone who's 0-2, and he beat another person who are 0-2, and that's why it's so difficult. He hasn't really shown us that he should be in the top 4, but he is also, at the moment, one of the best teams. Record-wise, he is tied as the best team if we don't put differential in there, and that's pretty impressive. And I just can't overlook the fact that he is 2-0 in a format where, consistency is key. If you can get in the playoffs, anything that can happen, and that's all he really needs to do. It's a good start. And, I mean, obviously, Hardy has shown that he's not the strongest player. He's getting better, but someone like Mike, that was, a big win. Nick hasn't really even shown the fight that Mike has had at this point. So beating Nick wasn't as big as I feel beating Mike was, and losing to Will convincingly is a little bit less impressive than, beating Hardy in that fashion week 1. It's so similar, and it's hard, but GHart really has shown that he's come out here to compete, and he is a good player. But I'm not even going to talk about him that much because I just want to see him play Ellie next week, and I want to see which one of them really deserves to be number 4. I mean, other people might win and move up, but as of right now, if they just did their game right now and I had to decide, whoever wins will probably just move up, and that will be really nice to say, okay, this is the person who came to compete, this person is lagging behind and needs to step it up. I think either of them can do it. I think they're both great players. If GHart wins, we definitely ranked him too low, and we I'm gonna say undervalued him, whatever. We didn't really believe in him. And he showed that, hey, look, I'm here. Fuck you guys. I'm awesome. And if Ellie wins, she's like, yeah, I'm still awesome. You guys are awesome. We're like, sweet. Keep on doing your thing, Ellie. So, I'm just going to let the battle decide. It's difficult. No one's really proved anything significant, but GHart is 2-0, which is obviously great. So he's number 4. Now, number 3. This is another hard one. Will got moved down after losing to George. Now, he lost 4-0. The game was closer than that, but he never really had any momentum or control in the match. I think George just played one of, the better games I've seen anyone play. Like, the preparation was on point. That was incredible. But I have to move Will down. He had the big win over Ellie, but then he loses to George, and the person above him, or the 2 people above him, are both 2-0, and it's just, again, it's really hard to move Will down because I think he's one of the best teams. I think he played pretty well in this match, but at the end of the day, he did lose. We have another guy who is 2-0, and his last win was dominant. Even though it was against Hardy, it was very dominant. And I'm going to talk about Will a little bit more, but the thing is, again, Gassy, the guy that I moved to number 2, which you'll see in a second. We'll talk more in a bit. But he plays George. If he beats George, he's the real deal. If he loses to George and Will wins, and Will's playing Hardy, so Will will play the guy that Gassy just beat. If Will wins, Gassy loses, Will can go back to his spot. But if Gassy wins against the guy that Will could not win, he definitely deserves to be number 2. It's more about, there's only been 2 games. How do you really determine who is the best based on other than, hey, look, this guy's 2-0, this guy's 1-1. But Will, I think he's going to be number 2 soon. I think or possibly even number 1. I think he's one of the better players in this league. He's shown his preparation is always really, really good. He's a great player. I think this game he played too safe. He had a win condition in Trick Room Slowbro. I think Slowbro went for Trick Room the last play. You can save it to try and sweep at the end, but if you can't find any momentum, you need to just set the Trick Room up mid-game and try to get a few kills. if he had done that, I watched the battle. If he had just set up Trick Room, tried to get a kill or two with Slowbro, then catch George off guard, his team outsped George's big time. Azelf, Mega Manectric, Crobat. Maybe he could have gotten a little sweep off on George's team. George's team is ridiculously slow and would have gotten worn down by the Slowbro. So I feel like he waited way too long, he played too safe, and George just took complete advantage of that. So I want to see a little bit more, I want to see more aggressive play from Will, and just, not playing really safe and trying to rely on the wall cores and the team that he built to win, because that's not going to win every time. It's not going to win against the top competition. And who'd you have number 3, Mr. Miguel?
I actually have SupahGassy at number 3 because it is very true, that he's 2-0 and Will is 1-1. I go back to the same thing, the same reason why GHart is lower than Ellie, because and Gassy is actually easier for me to place him at number 3. Well, I think he's a top contender. I think he's one of the teams who's actually performing the best because he is number 3. Number 3 is very high on the list. I can't put him at number 2 because I look at the opponents that he's faced and they're actually the 2 lowest ranked players this week, Hardy and Nick. Those are the 2 people Gassy has beat. He has yet to be a top-ranked opponent, even though Nick was ranked higher before. And I'm just not as impressed by Gassy's performances. I think that his match this week against Hardy was a little bit sloppy, and he could have actually been swept by a Weavile if it went for Swords Dance on a very crucial turn in which he squeezed out. I think he should not have risked that play, even though it worked out for him. And he got quite lucky too. He got the static on the Weavile when they went for knockoff on the Ampharos, forcing, really killing Hardy's momentum as he forced him to switch out and bring in a Sylveon to heal Bell. If he had not gotten the static, he would have been forced to Mega Evolve, and what wants to take an Icicle Crash on his team? Well, wants to take an Icicle Crash and a knockoff consecutively. You know what I mean? So I think that Weavile would have put a lot more damage to Gassy's team if it wasn't for that really fortunate hacks that he got with the static, which is a 30% chance. And on top of that, I think that, in that game, a lot of things went into his favor. I really think he would have won either way, but I don't think he would have won with such a high score differential, basically. And I'm just not as impressed by Gassy's performances. I think he's definitely a good player, but I just think that he has not been performing at the level Will has. I don't think he's been performing at the level George has. I think he still needs to prove himself, at least in my eyes, and he will do so this week as Mr. SupahGassy, coach of the New York Shelmets, face the San Francisco Arcaniners. And that is why, but yeah, as of now, he's number 3. Next week, we shall see. And when it comes to number 2, I actually have Will. And the reason I have Will is because he's lost to the number 1 ranked player, and he actually put up a good fight. I think that there were certain things where I think the difference between the 2 players in this match was the fact that Will just straight up got out-planned. Will planned well for George, but George planned excellently. And we'll get into that shortly. But focusing on Will, he did not have enough resources to deal with Goodra. Goodra was the one thing that was stopping his Slowbro from sweeping. Something that I could have done. I don't know exactly what the moveset for Slowbro was, but he should have carried something like Psyshock, for example, for Goodra. There's certain things that he could have brought that would have been able to deal with the Goodra better, because that was pretty much the only thing that was truly stopping the Slowbro, but he just could not deal with it. He just had nothing. He had very few things to actually hurt the Goodra and not scare it out, initially. And that's, on the other hand, George did something very, very special that, managed to get, break through Will's core because he wasn't expecting it. And that's something that Will lacked in this match. And I believe that he was always one step behind, but I feel like he put up a good fight and he did not give up to the very end. And he had a chance until, the game, progressed a little bit more. I think I'm very impressed with his performance. I think he obviously could have done better. He could have prepared better, and that is why he lost. But I still think Will is a top contender. I'm still very impressed by his team building. I'm still very impressed by his week 1 performance, and I think that he's going to be number 2 for a long time, and maybe even number 1 eventually, because he will face George again. So I could not, even though he's 1-1, I look at the people he's faced, and I just can't move Will down. So that's why he's number 2. How about you? What is your number 2? Talk about Gassy.
Mr. Gassy. Before I get into Gassy, I just have to say again, this week was really difficult for me. I feel like I keep stumbling over my ideas, my thoughts, and I feel like there's so many people who are tied. I think Nick and Mike are tied. Ellie and GHart are tied. Will and Gassy are tied. No one has an actual edge in performance. We have our, predetermined thoughts before any of the battles, the draft, how good we thought they were. We've seen them have 2 battles. Someone like Gassy hasn't played the best players, but he's 2-0. Someone like Will has played 2 great players, and he's 1-1. How do you decide, and really say who is best? My main thing here is Will had a chance to say he was the best, and he lost. Gassy now has a chance to say he's the best. We will see. And with Gassy, I think he has a chance to do it, but I'm also not entirely confident he can do it. I haven't seen enough to say, wow, Gassy's really going to challenge George. I think George is, going to have a difficult time and he's going to lose this one. George just destroyed Will if you look at the score of 4-0 and the fact that Will didn't have any momentum. Now, Will played pretty great. It's not like he had a bad game, and it's not like he got completely outplanned, completely outplayed. He just regularly got outplanned or outplayed. It wasn't dominating, if you know what I mean. It was a good match on both parts. Just one player played a little bit better and turned out to be a 4-0. Yep. Gassy, he got a 5-0. He beat Nick. It was a closer game. They both had a lot of misplays. He followed that up with a dominant win that could have gotten swept by a Weavile. That's for sure. He didn't, though. I mean, if there was a swords dance, we could have seen how Gassy reacted, but we didn't get to see. There's a lot of, Gassy, I haven't gotten to see anything. Damn it, just play someone who's 2-0 and let's see how good you are. I just want to see how he plans against, a top opponent. I want to see how he reacts and plays to a top opponent. And he's going to get to do that this week. There's not too much to really say about Gassy. I think he's played good enough to be 2-0 against 2 of the worst teams. I haven't seen any huge mistakes, and even when he makes big mistakes, he finds a way to win in the end. He's definitely made mistakes. I think he's shown that his draft is good for him. It's not, the best draft on paper, but it's working for him. He's bringing different combinations, and it doesn't seem like he's having a hard time team building. So it really is just going to come down to how well is he going to do against George, and how well is he going to do against the other top contenders this season. Now, moving on to George. A lot of people told me I was being biased and I should have moved him down next week. And to all of you guys, I'm just going to say, suck it, because George just won 4-0 against the number 2 guy. And I say that, it's just, a lot of people were getting too reactionary, and this power rankings was difficult because I don't want to move people up and down without merit, but I feel like everyone that got moved is just so close, and right now there's one person who's standing way above everyone else, and that's George. Yep. And you can't be so reactionary and say, oh, George only won 1-0 against the worst guy, he should get moved down. No, it's week 1, and you're expecting Mike to be the worst in the league? He's not the worst. I mean, he might be 0-2, but he's definitely played the best out of all the lower teams. George has played really well, and I think Mike just played well against him. This week, George had an incredible game. He took out an Umbreon Hippowdon core like it was nothing. 2 of the best defensive mons last season in the GBA. We saw Draco. Oh wait, not gonna reveal the superpower. Now the Draco superpower combination when he's lulled into false sense of security. Hippo's in on Landorus Eye. Life Orb Grass Knot's gonna OHKO that thing. That is amazing. And after that, there wasn't really anything that Will could do. You lose your huge core, you have to do something to break it, but you only have a Crobat, Mega Manectric, and Azelf, and I don't know, just some of the plays George made after that just to preserve differential, make sure he kept his win conditions around, and it just seemed almost effortlessly. Like, Superpower, Draco Meteor, Goodra, it's not the most creative thing in the world, but the way he saved that surprise for the right time to take out the Umbreon, which really did wall his core beyond that. I mean, Mega Scissor could do a lot, but then again, what stops Mega Scissor? Fucking Hippowdon. What happened to Hippowdon? That thing got destroyed as well, and it was a great game. I'm not surprised, though. I thought George was the best player. He came back. He said, hey, I'm coming back to prove that I should have been the winner in Season 1. I'm going to win this season. I think he did amazing. I think what we saw the most is Will has a lot of ground to make up for when he plays him again, and I really think that game's going to be a lot closer. I think Will's going to put up a big fight, and George is going to have to come up with some crazy stuff to keep him on the edge, because this time he definitely won with, a surprise set in Goodra. What is he going to do next time? And that's all I'm really looking for with George at this point. If he can keep coming up with creative sets and making sure he's still one step in front of the opponent. He's a great player. He can make good predictions, but right now he's relying on, his really good team building, and I want to see if he can keep that up, because if Will makes the playoffs, he's going to play him 3 times this season, which may be too much. He might not have that many tricks in this bag. We'll see. I mean, this one was just so simple to put him at the top. Miguel?
All right. So, Mr. George, SceptileMC, the coach of the San Francisco Arcaniners. Why is he number 1? Very easy. Wow. That's all I said when I was watching his battle. Scarf my loading with competitive to surprise kill the Manectric. Beautiful. Mixed offensive Gudra to take down his wall core and surprise kill the Umbreon. Fucking beautiful. Fucking Grass Knot on an offensive, modest Landers Incarnate to knock out the Hippowdon straight out. Beautiful. Everything was fucking beautiful. I loved his preparation for this game. I loved his way of playing. I love the fact that, you know, what you mentioned already, John. I loved how he went for Draco twice. And then he revealed his superpower. He played very meticulously. He knew what he had to preserve. He utilized Gudra not only as a wall breaker, but as an excellent pivot, which shut down Will's strategy completely. Mega Scizor, if you look at his team, you look at the team matchup, whenever you see two people facing each other, you somebody have a Mega Manectric and the other person have a Mega Scizor, the person with Mega Scizor is at a disadvantage because Mega Scizor cannot really do anything until that Manectric is gone because it immediately checks it. And, you know, it resists its priority and it one-shots it with the Flamethrower. So, the fact that he played around that, he was able to shut the Manectric down with his Gudra and have a Landers in the back, which really forced him to not spam Volt Switch because of the fear of Landers potentially being scarfed and capitalizing on it later on. It made George play a very, he played an excellent game, and he basically showcased off why he's called the Prodigy, why people think he's one of the best players in this format, why he was ranked number 1 at the very beginning of, at our very first power rankings. George is a force to be reckoned with. This game is an example of what George is capable of, and I'm very excited for his match against Gassy next week because we will see if he can keep up his momentum, he can keep up his team building, he can keep up the plays, the preparation, everything. I think George is going to be at the top of the rankings for a while and is definitely the favorite to win it all. But this is Pokemon. You never know what's going to happen. That's what makes it so exciting. But George has definitely proved a lot of people wrong. People thought that he was rusty with his first game against Michael. Look at him now. Look at him now, and fucking watch out. Watch out because he's gonna take some lives, and I'm very excited for what's to come. And I'm very excited for his rematches against Will as well because I think Will can improve a lot too, and he can give him a good fight always. So overall, I'm very excited for the season. I'm very excited to see what George can do. I'm very excited to see if there is an underdog lying around there who will take him out. So many questions, man, but they will be answered. They will be answered eventually, and that's what makes this season 2 of the league so exciting, in my opinion. So yeah, these are week number 2's. Spanish, awesome. The power rankings of week number 2. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, you could leave a like because that actually helps out this channel and it helps out the GBA grow. It helps out. Holy shit, I can't talk today. It helps out the video reach more people. There we go. John, help me, please. I'm something here.
If you guys enjoyed this video,
SOS.
Please make your own list down below. This week was really difficult. I had a really hard time talking about this because I think there's so many people that are close. Tell me, who should be number 6, Mike or Nick? 4 or 5, GHart and Allie. Gassy and Wilt. Who's number 2 and who's number 3? Exactly. And if you have your own list, throw it out.
Yeah, there's a lot of debate around those, specifically those 3 sections of the power rankings. There's a lot of debate to be had, and you can see that me and John had different opinions. What about you? Do you think we're a bunch of idiots? Do you have the most valuable power ranking? Well, tell us.
Go for it. Steal our jobs.
But I'll definitely reply and be like, nah, you're dumb. Mine's the best, but hey, you try.
I do want to say, though, please keep a lookout for these week 3 battles. This week is actually really important. We have a lot of big battles. Really going to determine and start solidifying our rankings and show who are the contenders and who maybe are the pretenders. But you got to wait till Sunday for that. So, until then, guys, peace.